financial disciplines people should try to adapt early on that might set up their 4 to 7 a little bit easier?
There's a financial exercise that's really important for any business, and there's a story that I like to tell that'll kind of get us to the understanding. So one thing that I read in a book was that any business should know how much money can they make and how much should they charge for their services. Well, there's an exercise to go through this. So when Dave and Joey sit down, we talk about, all right, we're gonna start a business. How much can we charge for what we're gonna do? And how much can we make? Well, first, you have to look at like the level of problem you solve. And I like to use the analogy. So there's a guy back in like the 70s or 80s that created like the pet rock. And then let's compare that to a brain surgeon.
Yep.
So the guy that started the pet rock company was like, all right, I have an idea. I could sell rocks, and maybe let's try to figure out the value of that. So I live in a neighborhood, and there's some rocks in our neighborhood or in our yard, and I could pay my kid $0.25 to pick up rocks. So rocks have a value of being picked up at 25 cents. And then I think like, okay, well, if I wanted to sell rocks, maybe I could go find rocks and sell them to people for a couple bucks. Or maybe I could go find like some special rocks somewhere and sell them for more money. What this guy came up with was he was gonna take rocks, put little like googly eyes on them and those pipe cleaners, and then you have like a pet rock for your desk. And I think he was selling them for like 10 bucks. So if he analyzed all the different ways that you could sell a rock, and then he came up with his idea, and he was like, I'm gonna sell this rock for $10 after I decorate it. How many people now, if you figure out your price, we're gonna charge 10 bucks for a pet rock, how many people could we sell a pet rock to? Probably a ton. They think it's cute or funny or whatever. Maybe we got special and we started making one that looks like dentists or veterinarians or restaurant owners, and now you have like a little niche, you can charge a little more and it's appealing. Well, selling a pet rock doesn't solve a huge problem, so you can't necessarily charge a ton of money, and maybe it's like a one-time purchase. So let's compare it to something else. We identified we can sell pet rocks for 10 bucks, and maybe if we got granular, a bunch of people would buy them. Maybe we could sell them at the beach, maybe we could sell them on the corner, like whatever the case is. Now let's go like a brain surgeon. A brain surgeon, how long does it take to be like the world's best brain surgeon? Probably gotta go to school for like 8 to 15 years and then have a bunch of practice and study. So you have a big time investment that costs money. Not a lot of people can do it or go through it. And so it's a little bit more granular, unique. You can probably charge a lot of money for brain surgery. Now you go, well, how many people could I help? If you're the best brain surgeon in the world, fair to say that like, you're probably traveling somewhere to help like the Sheikh of Dubai or the Prince of whoever or some super affluent person that can afford your services, that by doing your surgery, your life is actually going to be saved. The comparison is that the guy selling the pet rocks and the brain surgeon, they have the same amount of minutes during the day. You can only sell so many rocks, you can only fix so many people's brains. Now with the brain surgery, it's like, based on the time and money invested to get to be the best, you could probably charge an unlimited amount of money to save someone's life, especially if they can afford it. So when we think about how big of a problem do I solve, is like, well, how big of a problem is it? Am I selling a rock or am I fixing someone's brain? Now you go, how much can I make? Well, it depends on how many people you can help. And so when you look at like profitability in a business, when you start your company, whether you make videos, you sell window cleaning, you're selling software, like whatever the case is, how big is the problem and how much are people willing to pay for it? And then how many people can you help based on where you're at now and where you want to go? We all should have a basic understanding of our overhead and our cost. Most business runs anywhere from like an 8 to a 30% margin. Some people are in lower, bigger, whatever. But if you use basic numbers and you say, every time I bring in $100, I make $30. What is the timeline of goes into making that $100 in gross revenue to net $30? So I have a 30% profit margin. If you can look at the services you offer, identify what they cost you to produce, look at the exercise of what parts of it can you do before you hire people so you can make the systems to hire the people into, because there's probably 3 to 10 plus things that you have to do along the way to bring in that $100 of revenue. But it goes back to that exercise. What are you good at? What do you like doing? What are you not good at? What do you not like doing? And then do you have to hire someone full-time or part-time? Or can you lean on, is it you work with your spouse, or you have family involved in your business, or you have 1 or 2 employees as you're starting out? if you understand every step of the process leading towards the $100, and you truly understand, maybe it's not perfect, but maybe you can make between a 20 and a 30% margin. What things do you have to do as the owner along the way to understand if this went perfect, here's what everyone would do. Then you look at what does it cost to pay the people to do these things, and you just hold yourself accountable. Like, sometimes when you first start off your business, it's way more profitable because you could do everything and you have control of stuff and there's not many people to pay. As you expand, and this is just coming from a guy that went from 15 to 96 employees in 12 short months, is like, you're not gonna have it all perfect. But if you're documenting your processes, if you have hands on your business of just what is your customer journey, one thing we should all hold ourselves a little bit more accountable for looking at monthly or quarterly is like, if I sell a customer my product or services, what is the linear timeline they go through until it's done and they're paying? And then how do you analyze each step along that process and say, here's what's going good, here's what's going bad, here's where we don't need to improve, here's where we could really improve. And you see from the beginning, where do you have to be involved? But then you have a plan of like, what things do I not want to do as we can do more of these? Now, whether you're selling the pet rock or you're the brain surgeon, you can still look at the minutes in the day, delegating minutes. Are you willing to give up some revenue or some profit right away to bring someone else in? Because you know if you do that for 3 months, you could bring in 3 times as much work. Like, I've seen that with your situation. You can go out and sell to anyone, but managing the team, managing the system, managing the processes, it's where all of us can get kind of stuck in the fuck. So if you truly look at like, what is my customer journey? From inception of your business, or if you're watching this and you've been in business for 10 years, what is my customer journey? And what do I want to happen? What's going really well right now and what isn't going that well, and where can we improve this simply so I can have more time to go bring in more of this or empower someone? Maybe I'm not the salesperson or the marketing person. Can I empower someone to bring someone into a customer journey that I as the owner would be satisfied with them going through, and just understand the roles, the minutes, the money, what has to get done here so the end result is predictable? Because we all know, like, as business owners, if we had all the time in the world, we could probably go generate more work. A lot of the times we get stuck in the customer service, the invoicing, the ordering, just the day-to-day of the business that a lot of times we didn't all sign up for. But the accountability of understanding your customer journey, relating that to your current, like, where's your business at right now? But where do you want it to be this time next year? So you can actually set goals that when you meet a goal, something you could actually celebrate to know that you're getting further or more towards like where you want to go. One of the most important things in business that we don't always pay attention to is being profitable. Because no matter if you want to run your business your whole life and give it to your family or your kids, or you want to go sell it to private equity or an investor or something, no matter what, it's got to be profitable. The investors are not going to buy your business if it's not profitable. Why would your family want to inherit a business that's not profitable? You got to work in 100 hours a week just to make a living. I think what's very important to understand is, like, for your industry, what is the average margin? Like, if you bring $100,000 or $1 million into a business, and profit goes up and down as you grow, but if you bring money into a business, what is the average charge? What's the average profit? Are there things you're doing where you can do that a little bit better? I don't think a lot of us are as focused on our finances as we should be. Coming from a bootstrap entrepreneur who started 3 companies off the skin of my ass, it's like, it's debt, it's borrowing, it's risk adversity. From my background and how I grew up, I've learned that I have a little bit more risk adversity than other individuals. That's helped me. That's also hurt me. I think when we hold ourselves accountable for our risk tolerance, I hear a lot of business owners saying, oh man, I regret this decision, or oh, we should have done this way, or oh, I'm in this spot now because of what I did in the past. For anyone that's read the book, The Gap and the Gain, it's so easy to say these things and give advice when I promise you, like, my hairline looks like this for a reason. The nights of sleep, the bags under my eyes and stuff, I've been through it all. But it's like, I'm not big on regrets. I'm not big on like, oh, if I would've, oh, if I could've, because why? What does that solve? That's the living in the past, depression, whatever, where it's like, I am very big on learning from my mistakes and just not doing so. I can't say I don't do something the second time or the third time, but just as I go through phases in life, in business, and relationships, and all of it, just slowing down a little bit and taking time to reflect, because a lot of times we make things so much more urgent than they actually are. It's what got us here. I can multitask, I can do this, I'm running, I'm shaking hands, kissing babies, saving cats from trees, I'm doing all this stuff. One, that's very hard to duplicate. Two, you create a culture of people watching you operate like that, and then they're just trying to operate like you, but you're not really actually that good at it, and it's very easy to get frustrated by people watching them try to do something or emulate something that you can find faults in because they're just trying to act like you, when in reality, it's your growth, it's your evolution that people can watch that allow them to empower themselves. Imagine watching someone that's like running around, Tasmanian devil, doing a bunch of shit. Like, if you're an employee watching that, what are you gonna try to get better at? Like multitasking, being all over the place, doing stuff like that, when that's not the culture that any of us visionary or multitaskers really need. If anything, we get frustrated watching people trying to do it because they're not naturally like that, or they'd be in the seat of the business owner. Right. But it's so much more easy to get frustrated or mad at someone when you're watching a version of yourself that's a couple steps behind you. But if that's all you give them, if that's all they know, are these quick, chippy conversations in between calls, trying to give direction, but you don't really have a framework of what leads towards success. When you look at any role in your company, it's like, what are your 3 to 5 goals of your business? What role fits into those 3 to 5 goals? And what are the 3 to 5 things they need to do every week or every month to ensure that someone could look from an outside perspective and say, Joey's doing their job? The boring parts in business are the hardest. The stuff where you're running and gunning and moving and shaking and not swiping a card, making a sale, doing these different things, like it's easy to go there. That's why you have the ebbs and flows, because things are like good, then they're bad, then they're good, then they're bad, because we're kind of like from the hip, flying from the seat of our pants. In relation to finances, I've always tried to sleep well. I can't say every night's a good night of sleep, but I've always tried to sleep well, knowing if worse came to worse, I can go sell and I can fix something. But if you're bringing in a bunch of sales to processes that are still broken, you should probably slow down on trying to sell. Maybe take that hat off, put the hat on of doing something you're not quite as good at or you don't like doing. How could you duplicate the things that you do to show them to someone so they could do that to 30, 50% of your ability? Because now you're freeing up more time to do the things that'll bring in revenue and profit.
On next week's episode of Dope Conversations.
Educating people on why you are an expert in the problems you solve, it'll never hurt you. So whether it's for your personal brand or just building the brand of your business, because sometimes one of those cups fills the other one and vice versa. If I could challenge anyone, it's